You know the saying, be the change you want to see in the world? It is so facts. I mean, we see those posts on Reels and TikTok of someone doing a great deed, and the comments are like, we need more people like this, but you need to be more like that. Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, my second channel. Also, look at what my realtor did. You put a bow around the fire extinguisher. He's so, what's it called? Coquette. Anyways, today we have, in my opinion, one of the most important videos I've ever made on my second channel. And this was just a realization I had talking to one of my friends last week, and it's about like changing the world, guilt, privilege, etc. And ultimately it's about how we don't need to save the world. I think a lot of us, we have this save the world complex, and in fact having that big of a responsibility on you, it actually inhibits you from doing the small things to save the world, because you just say to yourself, oh, like this little small thing's not going to help, I can only do big things. So this conversation stemmed from, I was talking to my friend, her parents, they own gyms, and yeah, they own gyms, they own food chains, and they own food chains, and she works for them. And she was basically saying how she feels really useless compared to her sister and other people who are nurses and doctors and saving the world, and people, while she just works for her dad and makes really good money. And I said to her, like, you shouldn't feel guilty about this, because number one, your parents, they're providing jobs, they're helping the economy, that you treat your employees really well. Like, she's really good, okay? She's great at her job. She works so hard, and people don't see that. You treat your employees well, that you make the job environment like such a good space. So that in itself, you were doing your part in the world. And then it got me into thinking how so many of us, we think we need to save the world and do such big things, but we don't. We just have to do our part in tiny little ways. So yes, her sister might be a doctor saving lives, but hey, she's creating jobs over here, or she's making the workspace an enjoyable space. And I think these things can't really be compared. It's just do your part. I mean, for me, I get a lot of joy knowing that my videos help so many people online, because that's going to have a chain effect and go throughout the world. So first of all, let's talk about guilt. I think a lot of us, we know we have privilege in our life, and we have guilt for that privilege. And if you're like me, we tend to dwell on it. Since I was a child, I would say I was very, very empathetic. And I would go to a restaurant in a foreign country, for example, or like a foreign country in general, if it was cheap, Asia or whatever, I would feel really sad since I was like 4 years old. And I would never be able to enjoy my holiday because of how sad I would feel. And as I got older, I learned to navigate that and kind of try to turn that part of myself off, yet it would always remain. And this guilt I felt and sadness toward other people would build this complex in me, and this desire where I'm like, I need to save the world. And how I saw that from a young age was to become ultimately really, really rich, because you're not going to have mass impact on the world unless you are super duper rich, where you can influence certain policy and politics. But realistically, how many of us are going to get to that level and have that impact? Like, not many. So, number two, I think a lot of us, when we have this guilt and we dwell on it, sometimes it makes us feel like we're a better person, because, oh, at least I'm acknowledging that I am this way and that they are living that way. This guilt, it makes me feel like I'm worthy of something more. Yeah, I'm a better person than other people, because I know, for example, a lot of my friends don't feel the way I do. Like, yeah, subconsciously I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a little bit more empathetic. But does having this guilt actually serve anyone? It doesn't. Like, what was I doing with that guilt? Nothing. It kind of paralyzed me. Like, yes, I would give money to homeless people and blah, blah, blah. But sometimes if I was really sad by something, I noticed I actually got caught up in this feeling where I would not really do anything. For example, I remember last year being at a beach club in Bali, and look, this is very common for Bali, but you'll see the people like carrying all their hats and the things they're selling on the beach. And there was this one lady sitting in front of us, maybe like 20 meters down, and we're at this beautiful new beach club lying in one of the VIP cabanas, and she's sitting there just like watching us, hoping someone will buy a hat. And my friends who live in Bali are like, yeah, they're always like this, you know, like don't buy anything, because you'll just be seeing so much of this, right? And I remember like lying there just thinking, oh, like I'm really sad. I guess that sadness that my friends did not have, but I had, made me feel better in the moment. But I was thinking about this in hindsight. Why did I not help? And like, what was going through my head? And what was going through my head was I was actually thinking like, oh my God, like how am I gonna, I need to like figure out how to save the world. And I came up with this plan last year, was like, of course, like number one, achieve ultimate wealth, like mega wealth. I'm not going to talk about that on here, okay? But then two, it would be to like build free education and da-da-da. It's way more complex than that, right? And like logically and logistically, I myself in my lifetime would probably not be able to make a radical difference in the world. Like, yes, a small difference, but a radical no. Where am I getting to this? What I realized was we get paralyzed by our own guilt, and we think by having guilt, it makes us a better person. And then we think the only way we can help is by doing something big in the future. No, this is what I realized. What I should have done was I should have gone on board from that lady. And I know it sounds simple to a lot of people, like, yeah, look, I do that. It was such like a massive realization to me, just because how I saw helping was I had to do it on such a big level. It couldn't be like as small as just buying something. And it just starts like that. And I remember for my mom, if you watch that video in my other channel where I described what happened, I thought like the only way I'm going to give help my mom is if I can just wire her 100,000 or like more every year. And that put a lot of pressure on myself, of course, but it's not like that. I can just send her like 10K, 20K here and there, right? It doesn't have to be on such a big level. Helping my mum also starts by just doing little things around the house or spending time with her. Not everything has to be on such a grandiose scale. We just have to do what we can right now. Saying be the change you want to see in the world. It is so facts. I mean, we see those posts on Reels and TikTok of someone doing a great deed, and the comments are like, we need more people like this. But you need to be more like that. I think it's really easy for us to get caught up in our own lives, especially when we have so much stress. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself, that yeah, when there's so much going on in your life, sometimes you can lack kindness or compassion and you tend to shut other people off. But I think we need to bring ourselves down to reality sometimes and remember we're all human and we just have to help one another, do what we can. So I made a list of small ways that you can make a difference and help people. Because remember, like logistically, statistically, like you're not going to change the world, like facts, okay? Number one, if you're going to a poor country, third world country, don't barter unless they're of course ripping you off. But this is what I started to do. I don't tend to barter anymore, and I will always tip more. I used to barter all the time. I mean, I think sometimes you go to a country and bartering's part of the culture. But when you think about it, you can spare that money. That $5 extra you're probably going to pay them, it's not going to make a big difference to you, but to them, it will make all the difference. You probably are feeding their family for a couple of more days, or if not a week. I remember one of my first subscribers ever, when I had like 500 on YouTube on my main channel in 2019, we kind of would talk every now and then on Instagram, and one day she sent me a message and she was talking about how she was so starving and that she might have to resort to like sex work or telephone sex work, I forgot what, video cam. She might have to be a video cam girl. And I remember at the time I was a student and I did not have a lot of money, so I sent her what I could. I think I sent her like $20 or 25 Australian, which to me, like that was actually like half of my food allowance that week. When I was like 18, 19 in uni, I would be like $50 for food per week, and I would not really go over that. So, you know, I sent her what I could. And I remember she bought so much food with that. She was like, Simone, you gave me enough food to last, I don't remember how long, but it was a long time. Yeah, I was just thinking about that when I was in Bali last week, and how this amount of money that for us is not a lot, it is a lot for other people. So yeah, always tip. I try not to barter, and also just try to be very like gracious and kind to people and patient, especially if you have employees. Especially if you have employees or you're in like a high position, manager, CEO, you're managing people below you, have compassion. I watched a video today and it was like this old woman, she went to grab milk and then the milk spilled on the ground. And she was so like, oh no, like, oh my God, like what have I done? And the staff came over with a mop, and you would think like the staff, it's fine, you know, let me help you, how can I help? The staff shouted at the old woman and threw the broom at her. And she was like, oh my God, like, I'm sorry. It was so heartbreaking to watch. And then luckily, like, the girl, this little girl and her mother behind came and helped the old lady clean up. But that's such an example of cruelty in the world and people who are just unempathetic to other people's situations. Like, that probably ruined that lady's day, you know? That worker could have just been nice about it. Hey, it's fine, don't worry. But she wasn't. So yeah, think about how your actions and your words are influencing other people around you. Support small businesses as opposed to big corporations, especially if you're in a poor country. You know, like, try eating at the local food shops versus the foreign-owned chain stores. Recycle, of course. Do your part for the environment. Use less water. Get energy-saving bulbs. Turn the lights off. Take public transport if you can. I can't. This city's huge. I gotta get a car soon. Sign up to be an organ donor. If you're in Australia on Medicare, you can just check, like, become an organ donor. It's very, very easy. So if you're ever in an accident, your organs, they're gonna go to someone else. Minimize your plastic use, of course, and if you are using plastic, try to recycle. Volunteer locally. Donate your clothes. I actually donate, I would say 80% of my clothes, and then the 20% I put onto Depop, and that's stuff that's like brand new or very, very expensive. If you want a pet, foster a pet, go to RSPCA and rescue an animal versus going to a pet shop. If you're offering a service, give it, and someone's in need, give it to them at a reduced price. I think I saw this story, don't quote me, but the person, I think they were dying of a terminal illness, and like their aircon broke or the radiator or something. They called an electrician, and the electrician just like did it for free. And he said, whatever you need, like, you call me, I'll be here and I'll help you. And I think that's an act of kindness. I mean, for Triple S Society, we're actually launching our scholarship program very soon for the people who can't afford it, because yeah, I got to do my part in the world, doing my part through my YouTube videos, but we want our programs to be more accessible, even though we made it really cheap as well. But apply here. I want to end with, you need to take care of yourself before you take care of other people. And then when you are in a position to take care of other people, you need to start doing it. Because let's just say, like, you feel so much guilt for the world, you're so sad about how the world works, you get depressed, you're lying in bed, and then it's like, well, who's going to take care of your family if you've got that on your shoulders? I mean, I have that on my shoulders. I can't go do that. You got to, like, boss up and move on. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Small ways that you can make a little bit of a difference in the world, and comment below ways that you like to help the world. And don't forget to apply to Triple S Society right here.